what in the... That had to be the ultimate debacle of a show, like falling apart in slow motion. Everything from the girl, the chimpanzees, the Aladdin show. No, that I'll keep it in the light side.
Yeah, Welcome to episode 84 of the Bass Shed Podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 84 of the Bass Shed Podcast. This is another installment of Live at Lemur. This interview was recorded live at Lemur Music in San Clemente, California. Stop by the website, lemurmusic.com. Everything you need for the double bass can be found at lemurmusic.com. And I wanted to thank the folks at Lemur Music for hosting us. Hosting us? Yeah, I think hosting us. Letting us record there. It was a lot of fun to sit and hang with Oskar, and then we went into the showroom and geeked out on bass a little bit, and I will be talking more about that shortly. All right, if you have a record to sell, if you have a single to sell, if you have creative property you would like to sell, check out Finet.com. You know, real talk, folks, you just make more money. It is in favor of the artist, so it is a better situation, a better alternative to streaming and iTunes and other digital distribution platforms. Check out Finet.com. Well, I'm talking about websites. I'm going to talk about my favorite website to manage a teaching studio. BlinkLesson.app is an incredibly thorough website to manage all aspects of being a music educator. Teaching over Zoom is now a thing of the past. Check out BlinkLesson.app. I met these folks at the NAMM show last month. I really dug learning about how extensive Blink Lesson is, so after NAMM, I signed up and I used their platform. I used their platform to manage my own teaching studio. Head to thebasshed.com. I have links to them right there on the homepage. It'll make all the video lessons you do so much easier. BlinkLesson.app. My guest on this episode is bassist, Senor Oskar Cartaya. Oskar stays very active as a composer, arranger, musical director, and producer. Obviously, within all that, he's always performing as a bassist. Oskar has worked with Spyro Gyra, Herb Alpert, Jennifer Lopez, Celia Cruz, Rubén Blades, Tito Puente, Robbie Robertson, and more. Oskar has also played in the house band for TV's ShowTime at the Apollo, the ESPY'S, Latin Grammys, and Guys' Choice Awards. In addition, Oskar has worked composing and arranging for projects such as Jodie Foster's movie Contact, producing the soundtrack for the movie Wedding Bell Blues, and playing on Grammy Winning albums for Arturo Sandoval and others. Other recent projects include playing on albums with Pete Escovedo, Andre Crouch, Juan Gabriel, Sheila E., and playing live behind such varied artists such as Justin Timberlake, Wayne Brady, All For One, Winona Judd, and Jonathan Butler. So you know, damn, right? Damn. Oskar also has his own album out titled Bajo Mundo, which you can check out at OskarCartaya.com. And I will have a link to his website at thebasshed.com/podcast/Oskar Cartaya. It was great hanging with Oskar at Lemur Music, and here it is. Here's my talk with bassist and all other things music, Mr. Oskar Cartaya.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Roberts, host of the Bass Shed Podcast. I'm sitting here with Oskar Cartaya.
Yes, sir.
What up, dude?
You know, good to be here.
Yeah, we're at Lemur. How long did it take you to get down here?
Oh, it was.
We can't have two LA musicians without talking about traffic. Like, you gotta get that out of the way.
Do you want to know, but in miles or in the actual driving time?
Time miles is not that bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the deceiving part. You go, it's 50-something miles.
It should be 20 minutes.
Yeah. No, it was like hour and a half, hour and 20.
Okay. Yeah, about the same.
Yeah.
About the same. So what have you been up to? You told me you just wrapped up finished a musical.
I just finished doing the musical in the Heights. That was a very nice book to play for a while.
Had you played it before?
No, never played it. You know, well, actually, what I have done was I was in the orchestra in New York in the original show.
Okay.
I sat at the pit because I was going to be subbing for the bass player that did the show for the whole run.
Okay, yeah.
So I had seen the book and stuff, but not actually sat down and played it.
Yeah. Cool. How long the show go for? A month?
It went, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Between production and stuff like that, 5 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. What do you got coming up now?
Getting ready to go to Yoshi's with the Escobedos. Sheila, her dad, Peter Escobedo, her two brothers.
Do they only do it as the family now? Or are they still doing like just?
Well,
just Sheila?
you know, they have more branched out than a Fast and the Furious movie. You know, Sheila has her own career going on. Pops being Pops. They always do a run in July because it's his birthday, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to be his 84th birthday.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow.
Still going.
Still out there doing it.
Yeah. So the shows are always special because it's like at least 5 sold out shows at Yoshi's. Yeah. And the whole family comes down. It's a family affair.
Yeah. That's cool. How long are you at Yoshi's?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 15th through the 17th.
Okay, next week.
Next weekend, yeah.
Great. Cool, man. Cool. So are you from the States or were you born in Puerto Rico?
No, I was born in New York City.
Okay.
And then raised in Puerto Rico.
So how old were you when you
6. I was 6 when I went back to Puerto Rico.
And then you came back to the States when?
I came back to the States when I was 18.
Oh, wow. You were there for a minute.
Yeah, I know. I did my whole schooling from the first grade to I did 1 year in the Conservatory of Music in Puerto Rico. Okay. I was in PR. So when I was 18, I came here to California. Okay. I went to what it was called the Musicians Institute. Yeah. You know, or BIT. It was the BIT.
Oh, that's right.
Base Institute of Technology.
Yeah, they all had their separate.
Exactly.
BIT.
It was at that time. It was only BIT, GIT, and PIT. It was bass, guitar, and percussion, and then became MI, and they added all the other stuff. Who were the teachers there? Jeff Berlin was one of my teachers. Bob Magnuson, acoustic player. Tim Bolger. Oh yeah, Vanilla Fudge. Yeah. Who else? Those were like 3 of the main principals. And the guitar side, Joe DiOrio was a teacher there. God, there's so many. Tommy Tedesco, the late Tommy Tedesco, was one of the teachers. There was a performing ensemble, Carl Schroeder, keyboard player. Okay, yes, I've heard of it. Oh, yeah, legendary jazz player. Yeah. You know, accompanist to everybody. So Carl Schroeder, Bob Magnuson, and Joe Brancato. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Legendary, old school. Guys that they really will like whoop you into shape. Yeah. Now, when coming back, did you come back for music school and to go to BIT? Yeah. Okay. That's after I went to a performing arts school in Puerto Rico. Okay. So I did like 6 years of symphony youth orchestra, and I was very involved in the classical world. Yeah. But I had like a dual life. As soon as that was over, I would grab my Ampic baby bass and start playing salsa at night. And that was my upbringing. Okay. Like doing classical during the day, playing Latin music at night. And Clark Kent Superman situation. Yeah, like a weird Batman kind of situation. So did that. And then like around my, I would say either my junior year in high school, somebody brought me a Return to Forever album. And he said, "Oh, you look like this guy." And it was Stanley. And they pointed at, and at that time I had like a little quasi afro. Okay. And I'm like, it could be me. And then from there, the gates of heaven opened, and I started like, looking into like more to jazz. Yeah. To Jaco and the Stanley. Okay. And then Abe Laborio. Sure. So then I went down the rabbit hole. Right. And electric bass became like my obsession. Yeah. So I started shifting a little bit from the classical world more into electric bass. And this is still back in Puerto Rico? This is still in Puerto Rico. I was going to say, because the connection between Jeff Berlin and Jaco is super tight. So you couldn't have studied with Jeff and not have dealt with Jaco. Exactly. So in my first year in the conservatory, they had like the little cubicles where you could practice. Okay. And my bass teacher, his name was Manuel Verdeguer, Spaniard, that was brought by Pablo Casals, which is a legendary cello player. Okay. Actually, the conservatory is named after him. Oh, wow. Pablo Casals. And Manuel Verdaguer was his dear friend. He will be like Gary Clark of his days.
Yeah.
I mean, like virtuoso.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he walked into one of the cubicles, and I had my upright laying down on the floor, and I was practicing my electric bass. And automatically he disqualified me from his world. Like I was done there and then.
None of that.
And I realized, you know what? This is not gonna go too far any further in this place here. So that's when I started looking into coming out here. Came to LA.
Was it a big culture shock? Not only from going to another country, but just how musicians played and how they taught music. Was that a culture shock?
Completely. Now, I had my upbringing in Puerto Rico. There's still a lot of that mentality, but especially, almost 40 years ago, it was that if you did not read music, if you were not like an all-around, well-trained musician, you could not work. That was what was embedded into you as a young player.
Right.
So I remember my high school solfeggio class, I had to read 7 clefs. It was 208 notes, and the teacher will call out what clef she wanted. It was treble clef, it was bass clef, it was C clef, and you had to like read all that. So that was the importance of reading.
Right.
When I got here, I was shocked that there was people in school that didn't read at all. And I'm going like, how did you get here? I mean, this is possible. But the flip side of that was my ears was strictly just to hold my glasses. I mean, I could not retain 2 bars of music because I was so used to reading everything.
Yeah.
So my process was different than most of the other people. The other guys were learning how to read, triplets and dotted notes and stuff like that. I was trying to like figure out what a 12-bar blues was.
Right.
So in my classes, I remember getting up to play, and I will outread my teachers, which that was kind of sad. And I'm up there, and I'm telling them no bar 42. Yeah. But then when it came time to play, something that it was by ear, I couldn't.
Right.
So my whole time went into developing other skills.
Okay.
That was one of the most not culture shock, but musically shock that I got, because I'm so used to doing one thing and thinking this is the way. If you read music, if you can do this, then you're secure to
This qualifies you and validates your musicianship.
Yes, and it was like exactly the opposite here. They will give me a cassette back in the day, and here, learn these songs. And now I'm in my room trying to remember like 10 songs for a gig that there was no charts, and I'm like losing my mind because I felt like at that time, how do you retain all this information? It's important. So it was funny that transition.
When you were doing the salsa gigs though, were those reading?
Oh yeah, everything.
Even the salsa.
No, everything has a chart. And again, the gigs that you will get at that time were according to your reading skills. Because the better reader that you were, you can play with these bands because this book was harder.
Okay.
And so,
really strong emphasis.
Oh, yeah, no. The emphasis in reading was completely a definite factor of what level of work you will get. And then all the sessions back in the day, when you will go do a session, everything is written out.
Yeah.
From the beginning to end, the group, doom, 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 even the fills, everything, the arranger will write everything. Right. It wasn't until later on that you started getting like like bars with just a slash, and then give you the chord in the top, and then you figure out what to play, and then we'll write fill. And then you know that was something. But even slides, they will put like a slide, everything. So when you showed up to a session, you had to read.
So there's a lot of then work for arrangers there during that time.
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay,
definitely. But it's all like a state of mind of how, quote unquote, the industry evolves in each different places. Because in other places, recordings already were being done where people go in and jam the way through recording something.
Right, just work something out in the studio and then
over here the concept was, and still into today. In certain circuits, like if you go to a movie date, you have to read. Right? There's no improvises here. Unless
you're not making up a part.
Unless it's like, you're a very avant-garde composer. And it's like, let's just jam something here. But and that will put you in a position of if you can adapt to this environment, how quick are you, how effective and how productive. And it always was, one thing is to write the stuff, the other thing is to make it feel good. Anybody can read it, but then it comes to the levels of how good can you make this feel? Yeah. Versus,
so it's natural. It doesn't sound like
exactly, because a lot of the excuses that I used to get back in the day of hearing from people, I don't read because that takes away the feel. And I was like, no, if you read, you know what you're supposed to interpret, and then you put your own feel on top of the reading.
Right. Yeah. That's right. So then you're at MI. What year did you graduate from?
I graduated in 1983. Okay.
Was it a 2-year program? How long?
No, at that time it was like a year program.
Okay.
And then I finished. My classmate was Frank Gambale.
Okay.
So Frank and I were. Scott Henderson had just finished the year before.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Norman Brown was one of my students. The funny thing was, like, you will go in and they will give you like this 1-year pack of stuff. And when you graduated, you get like a certificate, whatever. But then I literally graduated on a Saturday. Okay. They have a ceremony. And Monday I started working as an instructor.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Right back
exactly. Yeah. Friday I walked in as a student, and Monday I walked in teaching. And it was hard at first because you're talking to some guy that was like your classmate, right? And now Monday you're in a room trying to teach them something. I was like, really, dude?
How did that work? Did they respect you as an educator, or were they still looking at you?
No, it was like the samurai battle every time. You had to prove why I was there teaching. And it wasn't like, I remember Frank started teaching, myself. There like maybe 3 or 4 guys from the class that graduated. And it wasn't like a full-time teacher. We were like lab instructor, like helping. Okay.
Small group
of people that obviously were at a lesser level. Yeah. And, our teachers were still there doing the main instruction, but you were like a teacher.
Or people that are just enrolled newbies.
Exactly. Yeah. But then it was always justifying why you had this kid.
Right.
It's only 2 years old. It's like, if this would have been the Wild West, you got to like be white or sling. It's like shooting people all day. Yeah, like, okay. So after a year of that, I said, you know what? I want to go play. Yeah. And then I went back to New York. Okay. So in 1984, I moved to New York.
Okay. And you get into the salsa scene back then?
When I first landed there, by default, that was what I ended up playing with. Okay. And I worked at that time with some of the people that I already knew from before, and new people, but definitely like the bigger names in the industry, the Tito Puente, Celia Cruz, Rubén Blades, Willie Colon. I spent the better part of a good 4 or 5 years just recording, touring, MD for all of them in that circuit.
And now, did you have contacts before you went to New York, or did you just show up in New York and be like, now I got to carve this out?
Well, funny enough, when I was in Puerto Rico as a kid, there was a very influential bass player for the Latin progressive, I should call Latin music, called Sal Cuevas. Okay. Sal Cuevas is the equivalent of James Jamerson. Okay. A guy that completely innovator guy. Play the same music that had already been played for the last 30 years or something, but he put a twist to it. Yeah, okay. And he was a really good upright and electric player. Okay. But in the electric player, he brought like all the slap and double stops. Chuck Rainey will be a
right. Okay, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yes.
It's like, okay, he brought all the Chuck Rainey stuff.
And that was his influence. If you ask him, he knew Chuck. But he was like one of the if not the very first, definitely like one of the pioneers of crossing over all the Latin rhythms with putting all this other stuff to it. Okay. So now me as an 18, 19-year-old kid listening to this, I was losing my mind. I mean, this guy is slapping and tapping and double stops and the whole thing. And that generation of players, that was the guy that completely like shed a light on everything. So we started listening, and he was an A1 session guy back in late 70s to almost mid 70s to like the late 80s in New York City.
Okay.
He was on everything.
Just doing everything.
Everything. It was him on the Latin stuff, Marcus doing like, you know, a lot of the record dates, Will Lee, Neil Jason, another bass player called Francisco Centeno from New York City. Those guys capitalized that market. So here I am, a kid. He comes to Puerto Rico to play with a group called the Fania All-Stars. Mm-hmm. And Fania All-Stars will be the equivalent of, you say, the Motown All-Stars. Like if Motown would have put a label, a band of all their main singers, and then put a band of all their main players.
Right, like the Funk Brothers touring with like a review of all the...
That was the Fania All-Stars.
Smokey Robinson, the Temptations, everybody.
Yeah. That was the equivalent of the Fania All-Stars. So Fania All-Stars was like the super band of the 70s.
Okay.
Early 80s. And wherever they were in concert was, I mean, they're doing sold out Yankee Stadium in New York City. They're playing the Lee Frazier battle boxing fight in Africa. I mean,
man, okay.
They were like the band.
Yeah.
So Sal, he wasn't the original bass player, but he became the second bass player of the band. And now he's recording with them and everything. He goes to Puerto Rico, and I trace him down. I make my way to backstage to the concert.
Yeah.
You know, and I go up to him and like I meet him. I'm still in high school, and I go, "Hi, Sal. My name is Oskar. I'm a big fan." You know, and he's like the nicest guy. "Hey, man, what?" Yeah. Back then, of course, his phone numbers. He goes, "Oh, here's my phone number. You know, yeah. When I come back, I'll call you." And I give him my number. So one day, I'm coming with my buddies from school, and we get to the house, and my mom goes, "You have a message. Some guy call you a Salino, Sal Cuevas, mommy? He called me?" And he goes, "Yeah, he's in the Hotel San Juan." I said, "What?" So I go with my friends, "Let's go." And we jump in the car, and we take off to the hotel, and there he was. They were
amazing.
Yeah, and that's how the friendship started.
Okay.
So now he will come to Puerto Rico, he will call me. And so when I come to LA to study, at the Hollywood Palladium, they were having a big show with the late Ray Barretto, Celia Cruz, a whole bunch of artists, and Sal was the bassist on that show.
Okay.
So, Jorge Dalto, he's the piano player that did Masquerade intro for George Benson. Yeah. He's on Broadway. Him and Ronnie Foster did all the legendary early recordings with Benson when he had Jorge Dalto and Ronnie Foster. So they're playing, and the late Dave Valentin was playing flute. Mm-hmm. They're playing at the Hollywood Palladium, and of course, I go and I see Sal. And he's like, "Man, what are you doing here?" I said, "I've been at school and stuff like that." And he goes, "Oh man, I want you to meet somebody." So he introduces me to Jorge Dalto, to Dave Valentin, you know, and he goes, "Oh, okay, what?" You know, and they go, "Oh man, Sal gave you my number." If you go to New York, everybody starts handing you numbers and stuff like that. 6 months later, I decide I'm leaving LA. I go to New York. So I get to New York, and the first person I call is Sal.
Of course.
And Sal is like, "Oh man, what are you doing? Come on." He starts taking me to all his like rehearsals and gigs, and he's introducing me to everybody. He goes like, "Oh, this is my little boy, you know, Oscar here." And it's like, "Oh, okay, my little brother." Everybody's like, you know, Sal is validating for you. It's like, okay,
right? You're automatically in.
Yeah. So little by little, I start getting gigs, and I call Jorge Dalto, and like a regular, whatever, Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. And I call him up and I say, "Jorge, hi, this is Oskar Cartaya. We met in LA with Sal." And he goes, "Oh my God, yeah. How you doing? Good. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm in New York now. I live here." No. What are you doing right now? And it's like, "I'm in my apartment." "Well, come down to my studio." And you know, I was like in 96 at first. He tells me, "I'm in 34th and 7th. And I jump in the subway and I get there. And when I show up, there was like 3 of the most legendary musicians in the Latin scene playing, and him. And it was like, I'm like looking around like, ooh. And he goes like, "Oh, let's jam." We started playing for like half an hour. And then he goes, "Okay, we're going to play May 17th here." And he starts giving me dates. Like,
now when you were playing with them, were you vibed out by who they were? Not because of their presence, but like, were you in your head, or could you relax?
No, I I mean, like, I'm a little bit like, like trying to keep it under control. I know who the guys are. Sure. I know I can play the stuff. And it was like, okay, let's jam. And they're just playing, and they're playing standards, Latin stuff that I know. So we're going into it, and he just wanted to see if I can play. Yeah, of course. We played for like half an hour. Now he's giving me dates. Like, we're going out on the road, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess this is New York. And then from there, it just ricocheted. Like, I will get a call for this and this, that. So I did that, I guess, like for the first 4 or 5 years of being in New York, bouncing from one to the other. And again, New York City that was still like the glory days of New York. You will go to the Village, and there was easily 15 clubs with music, right? In a radius of like 2 miles. Yeah. So you go from Village Gate to Mondo Perso to the Blue Note to the 7th Avenue South to Lush Life, and you will see everybody. Yeah. Like literally, Anthony Jackson is playing one club, Will Lee is playing at the other club, Marcus is at another club, and it's just like, the heck is this? And then from there, you start getting your stuff. And I did all of that until I just started saying, I want to do something else because I'm in New York. Yeah. And now I started concentrating and doing more of like the funk and jazz gigs and stuff like that. And that's what lands me with Spyro Gyra. Okay. And then how long were you with them? I was with Spyro for 5.5 years, almost 6. Okay. Are they still around doing it? Oh, they're still around. They've been, they're like in, I will say, maybe the 30th or 30-something years of existence. Oh, wow. Yeah. They just played San Juan Capistrano, the Coach House. Not even really? Like a month and a half ago. Oh, great. Yeah. And then did that springboard into other smooth jazz gigs and stuff like that? Yeah. Well, I was with them from 88 to like 94. And that's when I left glory years for that music. Yeah, it's kind of just hit the scene, and everybody thinks they're listening to jazz because they're listening to that. That's at that point, I was. They were signed to GRP, and GRP was like the label, right? So I did a lot of recordings for them for different artists, and then I got to produce some records for Dave Valentin and Herbie Man. Oh wow! It was a great time. Did you play on the stuff you produced also? Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. I wrote, played, and produced on stuff. Oh, wow. You wrote it? Yeah. Nice. Did you also arrange? Because I feel like back then, in different previous generations, the role of a producer wore more hats than it did now. I definitely come from that era of Reef Martin. I mean, the guys that will get in there, and it's not like sitting there just moving their head. I produced this. What did you actually do? Exactly. In that era, the producer was considered the guy that assembles the whole thing, is responsible for the product or the material that we're going to create. It's involved in every step of it, from the writing or to the arranging or everything. So how much of engineering did producers get involved with that? Were you involved with, I want this kind of sound, I have this specific mic, or did you leave all that to the engineer? I have always said my strength comes from knowing my weakness. Yeah. There's people that they gravitate, that they love that part of it. Right, yeah. Like they love the tweaking of finding out where this mic goes and what's a proper all the science. I don't. That has never been in my DNA. For me, like one of my biggest downfall when I'm writing or working on my stuff is the amount of time that goes into looking for a sound. Mm-hmm. I can be there for hours because like I'm a little bit OCD about things, and it's like when you're listening to 200 snares, at some point you lose all perspective. Yeah. And it's like, I just need something to go. Right. One of them could have happened outside and you thought it was a sample. Exactly. So I realized that early. So I've always had engineers that I trust, that understand. And, in the early days, I remember like bringing engineers my records of stuff that I have heard that I like. And it's like, okay,
references.
Exactly. If like sonic references of what I was looking for. For this artist, I think this is the concept. We want like a bigger room kind of sound. Oh, this is like a tighter thing. And then obviously in that era, you were going through a lot of changes of, programming, synth bass, all of that. So all of that started gravitating and shifting of how you approach things. And this, there was the snares that sounded like the Grand Canyon, taking over the whole session. And so, there was a lot of adjusting.
How, given like your reading background, how much of that was involved with sessions you'd produce? Would you show up with charts and expect your musicians to read, or would you?
Yeah. A lot of the times there will be stuff pretty much arranged.
Yeah.
So there were sessions that is just read down the paper. Okay. Like you hand out charts to everybody, do 1, 2, 3 takes, and that's done. Move on. Next time. Some others were like more of chord charts and let's go for a feel, looking for this and stuff like that. But always, it's a combination of the right players. Like if you call the right people that are going to give you certain things, certain element, then that will make your life easier.
Of course.
And that's something that you learn only with time. Because I always thought, when you first start, you always think the best players make the best band. Wrong. That's like saying the best game of the season is the All-Star game. That's the most boring game ever.
It's the worst game.
Exactly. In a team, you need one superstar, maybe 2, and then you need role players. You need the guy that will dive 3 rows in to get the ball. Or you need the guy that is just going to be there knocking people left and right. It's the same thing with music. Sure. You always need your guy that is going to like give you time, pocket, whatever it is, the flashy one that can take the solos that people go, ooh. And when you put a team like that you understand, this is what I need from this guy, this is what I need from this one, these two guys can do this, then it makes your life easier as an MD or as a producer.
Sure. Did you find yourself using the same team, for the lack of a better word?
Yeah.
A lot? Well, how you worked with them and they knew what your vision was.
It's like in everything in life. You get people that understand. And one thing that I always tell people, and this is going to go down in history, as no university or no college on earth teaches people that the most important part of putting something together is the chemistry as people.
Yes. I agree.
It doesn't, you can be the best player on earth, but if you're an a-hole, I can only handle you for so long before I want to kill you.
Right.
So you will sacrifice at any given time a lesser amount of talent for a nicer person.
Yeah. And I think that there's something about like how you connect with someone off bandstand or off out of the set. That's going to come into the studio or on the bandstand.
Or on the road. A lot of times on the road, it's like that's the biggest tester of everything, because we all been on the road with somebody that you wouldn't mind pushing off the train. And you go like, great, I can't wait. And one person can create this whole vibe. So it takes you a moment these are things that you just learn with time. Unfortunately, again, there's no course, there's no book, there's no handbook of how to figure this out. Yeah. You realize this with time. And you realize that you get calls from people because they like to be around you. Right. The same way that you do with others. And, if you're a pleasant guy, you give no trouble, you do your job, you get there and, it's like, let me call this guy. Yeah. And I'm done. And that's what happens in a lot of recording or touring or situations. You will find an enclave, a nucleus of people that you can relate to, you understand. And their chemistry among them. It's creating an environment where everybody's productive.
Right. It is. Yeah, and so much of it is people management before it even gets to sitting behind your instrument.
You can ask anybody. I always say MDing is glorified babysitting.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I mean, it's glorified babysitting.
Sure.
You got to understand the guy that is always like spaced out, that you got to tell him 3 times the same thing you told the other guys once. You know, somebody's going to show up and it's not going to have something. He forgot something, went to the wrong place.
Right.
You know, they're driving around looking for a parking spot for 2 hours. And it's like, just park. I'll give you the money. I mean, like, all of these things. The music part is like so minuscule compared to all the other stuff that you go like, okay,
How many guys in all the years you've been an MD have you used from New York when coming to the West Coast?
I still do it to this time. Like a couple of days ago, one of my best friends and dear brother for many years, his name is Mark Quinones, percussionist. We started in the New York salsa scene together back in the early 80s. Then when I got the gig with Spyro, I called him to play on a track that I had written for the band.
Okay.
When he played, the guys from Spyro and, you know, the leader, Jay Beckenstein, was like, man, who is that guy? He's like, let me talk to him. So he ended up doing the whole record.
Okay.
He ends up going on tour with us. and the tour, when we were in Florida, he meets Butch Truckers from the Almo Brothers.
Okay.
And he comes to the dressing room and says, I'm going to steal this guy from you. And we go like, you can take him. You don't have to steal him. We'll give him to you. Well, he ended up doing 20-something years with the Almo Brothers.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Then when the Almo Brothers finally break up, he goes out to play with Greg Almond and his band. Then Greg passes away. Now he's with the Doobie Brothers. So he has a brother thing. He just plays with brother band. Yeah. But all this to say that he was just in town maybe a month ago getting ready to do a residency with the Doobie Brothers in Vegas.
Okay.
I mean, we're still like, we haven't stopped our friendship from almost 40 years ago. It's like calling each other on the phone, giving a hard time, what are you doing? We were in the studio cutting some tracks, and the chemistry has been there for decades. And, you know, one will tell the other, you know, that sucks. No, you suck. You know, go back again, but we get it done. And at the end, it's like, okay, yeah, that was what we wanted.
Yeah. And I think that there's, I don't know, there's no rule. It's fun to have that little edge in the studio. Otherwise, the studio is so sterile.
Well, you definitely
need something just to stimulate your mind.
One thing that I have unfortunately seen so much and learned is that there is different levels of recording. There's some times where everybody is being so polite and you know, in what I call and my definition is the dogs when they meet each other and they're sniffing. You know, it's like, oh my God, you sound so good. Yeah. That's amazing. Wow, great. You know, and there's a level of like not fake. Yeah. Everybody's just, it's still a business card. Exactly. So everybody's just like complimenting each other. And then there's the raw thing when you're like with people you know, and it's like, wow, that sucks. Can we play it the right way? You know, and then you go, okay. And they'll call out. It's like, dude, you're dragging. No, everybody goes, yes, you are. Okay. So that is another level. And again, that comes with friendship. That comes with, you know, a certain level of assurance that you know who you're dealing with and how is it going to be taken. And me starting in New York City as a full-time studio musician, I mean, in Puerto Rico, I was a kid, so I said what I was told from all the adults, you know. Right. I always was the one at fault. It didn't matter why, because I'm the youngest one in the session. They don't care. Right. But now in New York City, the people are pretty much very New Yorkers. They, you know, producer will walk in and he goes, okay, I ain't fucking grooving at all. You know, and it's like nobody took it like, oh, he's talking to me. And I was like, okay, it's not grooving. Let's do it again. I learned that it was a little bit more, a little bit more politically, and you know, you don't want to hurt anybody. Yeah, exactly. Let's try it one more time. Everybody's a little bit more delicate, you know. So, but it is what it is. You know. Who are you MDing right now? Anyone? Well, I do. We've been doing a residency at Sofitel. That's still happening. That came back. I didn't know because I went out to go see you. There's a couple years before the shutdown. Oh, yeah. Great band, full house. Yeah. But I didn't know if it had come back. We started June of last year, so it's been a year now. Oh, wow. Okay. Since they finally gave the clearance to go in and start having indoors event. Nice. And that's one of the artists that I work with. Son Candela is the name of the band.
Okay.
And we've been there for better part of 3 years because we did a year, pandemic for a year and a half off, and then back for you. So I do that. Mostly I work my own project, my own band, MD, right? And been working with that, doing stuff.
Talk about that. What's that? Is that in the jazz funk mixed with Latin? Is it more primarily Latin?
That is the...
to qualify, the thing you do at the Sofitel.
It's salsa. That's a straight up dance salsa night. Yeah. That's people that want to get their boogie on.
And then, is that a band specifically for that place on that night, or does that band go out and do other days?
That band works as a regular unit.
Okay.
So Sofitel is our home base on Wednesdays. Yeah. But we do all type of private events, corporate stuff, play other venues, but even go out of town to So that band is its own identity. My personal stuff has been what I like to call an asopao. Asopao is the Spanish word for gumbo.
Okay.
And it's everything in the kitchen sink. Yeah. Because me being fortunate enough to have been covered from Latin music to like funky to jazz to all kind of stuff. When it comes time to do my thing, I put no limitation to it. Sure. If I go work with somebody, I work within the confinements of what they want to do. Some people want you to, just groove and stick to that. And it's like, fine. Yeah. Some other people want more edgy stuff. But then as a writer, producer, composer, artist, now I'm going to do...
Gloves are off. Yeah.
Exactly. I do whatever I'm hearing and I throw it all together. And I think always more of a concept of a presentation instead of like style. Okay. So I can't say it's a Latin band because we do a lot of other stuff. Yeah. I can't say it's a funk band because we don't do all funk. I can't say it's a jazz band because we don't do enough jazz. Yeah. Now, is it a combination of all these elements?
It's all in there,
yeah. And the most important thing is the presentation of how you put this out there for people to enjoy. Mm-hmm. Because I believe that there's a responsibility of when you go out to play that you have to take off your ego of you coming to see me versus I'm here to entertain you.
I agree. Absolutely.
And it's whatever.
If they don't show up, there's no gig.
There's no reason for me to be here. Exactly. If you're not here,
right. If people don't come listening or expecting music, they're not going to call musicians.
Why
we can't work on any level.
Yeah.
If they don't show up. I remember years ago, me and my brother, who we took my dad to go see Eric Clapton back in. My dad's a big Eric Clapton fan, and I remember sitting there thinking, like, all these people are here to see Eric Clapton. But like Eric Clapton wouldn't do this if we weren't here. Oh, yeah. Like he's here for us. We're not here for them. I mean, we're here for him, but he's also here for us. And there's a relationship.
There's a
that you need each other.
A dynamic, exactly. There's like almost like a mutual understanding that I always say that it becomes there's no bad audience. There's an audience that is not getting what you're doing, and that's why you're not getting that feedback. Because feedback is sound that comes in through one system and keeps amplifying itself. And that's the vibe that you create when you play. If you're not getting good feedback from that way here, is that whatever's coming from here to there is not really impacting them. Because I know that we're encoded. Our DNA is primal when it comes to emotions. Mm-hmm. We don't control our emotions. You can try to rein them in, but sadness, happiness, surprise, all these elements happen.
Sensory reaction, like smelling something or tasting something.
So when something feels good and something is really like burning and grooving, you can't control it. It don't matter how stiff you are, you're just gonna go with it. And it's like, once that happens, and that is going because you sense it. It's almost like two things happening: a physical one where we all see what's going on, but then this other stuff in the elements, up in and the atmosphere, which is just sense. You feel it or you don't. So when the band feels that, you always go to the next gear.
Yeah.
It's like,
just keep pushing.
And you keep on pushing. And then that's when and with a larger amount of people, it's easier to sense that's power.
Yeah.
Because when you go to an arena and there's 20,000-30,000 people losing their mind, that energy is felt by us performers.
So hearing somebody laugh makes you want to laugh.
Exactly. The same thing. So it's very important to always keep that. And I always tell people in the band, my guys, when we come play, if you don't come to have a good time, then don't come. Us as players, we're the first one entitled to have the best time possible. Yeah. You have to go there and, you can't just melt it in. You can't just be playing or no, because it's starting already wrong from here.
Yeah.
We go out there, we, play our butts off. We really enjoy this moment. They feel it. They send it back. Now you feel good. And that's when you finish and you get off the stage and you're like in a high, like a natural high of like, oh yeah, and everybody's looking at each other and the high fives because you created that experience. And I always part of my mantra when I go, I always say, the ease of we're here to enlighten.
Yeah.
We want to enlighten you, the audience. People paid hardworking money. You don't want to hear that, we're tired, or we've been in the road for a month. Right. No. For everybody, each night is a new experience.
Yeah.
So we want to enlighten. We want to entertain you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at some point, we want to educate you. Whatever sense we can. It can be from worldviews to injustice that we believe we can, bring to our forelight and express to people. So it's a big commitment to get on that bandstand, and do what you really are supposed to do.
Yeah. How big is the group?
It's like a 7-piece band.
Oh,
it depends. Yeah, it's it varies because I have drums, percussion, 2 percussionists or 1 percussion.
Okay.
I have keys. I have 2 horns. Sometimes I have a violin. So when I have the full shebang, drum, 2 percussionists, 2 horns, a violin, keys, and myself, that is
that's the whole.
Oh yeah.
What when you go for writing for your group? Where do you regularly find inspiration for tunes or pieces?
Man, writing is something that I have developed organically my whole life. I started writing very early. I mean, I remember at 15, 16, when we were jamming with my friends, I already was writing stuff. Yeah. And I will bring little scraps of stuff.
Okay.
And it's bad when you have to tell somebody what you wrote because they can't figure it out. It's like, no, it's da 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 da, and they go okay, da. So it used to be like that, but I always have felt a natural process of there's. As a composer, because I do film scoring and stuff like that, there's times that you have to sit down and you have to create. You're forced to write something. So for that, that's where all the studying and all the technical stuff comes in. But when it's your personal creation, something that you're just looking and stuff, you just let it come naturally and start messing around. And obviously for me, my main weapon is my bass. I pick up my bass and I start most of the stuff from there and then move into a piano and start figuring out things or grab a guitar. But I will say 80-90% of the time it starts with the bass. And because of my education, harmonically and stuff like that, I can hear, even if I'm playing a C, I'm hearing a D. I'm hearing a D over C in my head, which is weird because, now I'm playing something, but I'm hearing something else, and I'm so right, and then you grow, and the best part is after you've done all that craziness, and you hear it, it's like, that's what I was saying. When people start playing, it's like, pretty much.
I did one movie soundtrack, and I did arrangements on another movie. I like writing under the confinements you just spoke of, when you have to almost just kind of sprinkle on a little bit of whatever garnish to a story that's already existing rather than starting another story.
Yes.
That's fun for me. What type of things do you look to lock in with when you're writing for a screen lock?
Well, I call that process the tailor process. Because when I get in that position, I feel like I'm a tailor.
Yeah.
And my job is to make the best suit for you.
Yeah.
Your body type, your skin color, your height, everything. So you put that thing on and you like feel, and that's what film scoring is.
Yeah.
It's not about me.
Right.
If somehow this becomes like, oh, the music is beautiful. What was the film about? I don't remember. Then you lose the point because you're there to complement something. It has to go hand in hand. What I have learned working with different directors is that you always follow their lead and their vision because, a lot of the times they'll give you temp music with they already set their mind to something.
Sure.
You can perhaps steer them in a different direction a little bit or give them something they want to think, but I will say the path is already set.
Yeah.
They were thinking, this kind of vibe for this scene, or this is the whole. I work with some directors that they are almost looking for just atmospheric stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want, they want feels like a lot of swells and the weird things. And it's like, okay, that's what he's hearing. I can't.
Just more textural.
Yeah. And there's some other directors that have told me the vibe that I'm looking for, and then they give me like more of a green light. They tell me, I'm looking lush. I want, something, and then I
give you broader.
Exactly. Or in some others, it's almost like a takedown of whatever they already put as a
sound alike
they want to sound like, because, and again, after you've done this for a moment and you had a couple of sessions where what's going on, you realize, okay, let me not try to push this one because, I will try to present different cues and they go, yeah, but, in this section, what I was hearing, and it's like, okay. And you will try something else and then you realize, okay, it's a takedown. Just put a spin to whatever that was. And some other times they go, oh man, give me more of that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
it seems like a lot of your MD skills are going to work with dealing with directors because it's the same thing. You're just dealing with people. When talking to a younger generation of musicians, and you have to explain how much of it is just people management and empathy and how that comes into playing and negotiating all these micro decisions we make on stage in real time.
Yeah.
How do you begin to communicate those ideas? Or would you if you haven't already?
Yeah, because I try to explain to younger players the technical aspect of anything. Anyone can develop that. You can be a florist, a baker, whatever. A recipe of 2 eggs with butter and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Right.
It's whatever you do to make it, special. If you're gonna bake it at lower heat or more heat, if you're gonna keep on, moving it, that creates your personality comes through that. And it's the same thing with music. It's the same 3 notes, it's the groove, it's whatever. It's whatever extra you do to customize it in a way that people say, oh, cool, Ryan. And it can be the whole experience of just being around you and making it feel good and knowing that you're going to show up on time. They don't have to call you 3 times to remind you about a gig. You're not going to show up and go like, oh my God, I forgot my head of the amp. All of those things, they play like the subliminal part of what the gig is about.
Sure.
Because like I said earlier, you can be the best player, but if you are hard to deal with, people will weigh the consideration of like, oh, I want to deal with this guy.
Yeah.
They know you're going to go play it. And they know this other guy can also play the same thing.
Yeah.
He's not as flashy as you, but the extra weight that carries around.
Everything that comes with that.
Exactly.
Like, is this worth it? More often than not, it's not worth it.
So that's why I always try to explain to all these guys, you can be the baddest I've played, but you are a person 24/7.
Yeah.
You're a musician, a couple hours, a long day, but a person, a human being that people have to deal with, that's 24/7.
Yeah.
So make that priority number 1 all the other stuff will get added to it. Then it's like, oh, okay, that's a good package right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Wrapping up, like worst gig story. Like what are some?
We should have started with that, and we would have been here all day. Oh God. Oh man.
What are some that come to mind of like where just completely derailed for whatever reason? I always think these are hilarious.
Oh my God. I'm gonna give you a couple of them that are like standard conversation when we go into gig stories, because I'd rather focus on the funny ones.
Okay.
There's been ugly ones.
Yeah.
But the funny ones, when I was still living in Puerto Rico, I was maybe 17 years old. I got called to play Holiday on Ice.
Okay.
In Puerto Rico. Right there, you know that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I wasn't going to touch it.
You know. So it already, the title alone is like, they're doing what? Yeah, at a Coliseum, they were going to put the spectacular called Holiday on Ice in Puerto Rico. There's no ice to be found nowhere.
Right.
Except islands. They were not going to freeze an arena or anything. So the typical, the girlfriend of the producer of the show, the whole show was the dream of like an Aladdin show. Aladdin was a star.
Okay.
And again, it was like one of these quasi Disney productions of things going on. And half of the band was from the island, half of the band came from the United States.
Okay.
We're doing all these kind of stuff, you know, quirky music, whatever. Yeah. So the horn section had come from the United States. The rhythm section was from Puerto Rico. And like I said, the girl that is playing Aladdin, because it's all like a dream, is the girlfriend of the producer. Talentless to another level. But, you know, her sugar daddy's paying for everything. So
you got the gig.
Yes. So we're talking, and like we've been 2 weeks into this show, and one of the horn players goes like, when are we going to get paid? And I look at him and say, what do you mean? He said, I haven't gotten a penny yet. It's like, oh, we get paid every week. And he goes, what? You've been paid? And then he asked the drummer, you know, the local guys were getting paid. The guys that they brought from the States had not gotten paid yet.
You think it'd be the other way around.
Exactly.
They're not going to stiff anybody.
Well, now the girl was supposed to sing, what a wonderful day is today.
Okay.
You know, and the trombone player will give her the note. He will go,
I can see where this is going.
From the orchestra, you know, and she goes, what a wonderful day. So now the conductor's there, and he goes to the trombone player, and he grabs his bass trombone, and he goes, I mean, it was like a shit showing up to the bass. And the conductor's going, give it a note, give that note. And he's like, and the girl goes, and then when we come in,
I could have sworn in my mind that he was going to play a half step off.
Oh, no. He went for like the lowest note on his bass trombone. But again, the girl's so talentless that she couldn't figure out, I've been doing this for a couple of weeks. This sounds weird. No, she went. And when the band came in, she never found the key. So it was like, what a wonderful day is today. No. I can see the conductor, like his eyes are like getting red. And the guy, and we're playing, and it's like, it's sounding like a disaster. Like, she never found the key. And it's like, oh my God, this is going nowhere. So now the guy's pissed. Everybody's bad. So they had 3 chimpanzees on a little go-kart. No, on a mini bike spinning around, and we will play. What the hell? We will play Let the Sun Shine. So we will play the sunshine. And then the strobe lights will start going faster. We will start playing faster. And it looked like they were going faster, but they are still going at the same speed. It was an optical sonic illusion. But what happens? They're like a family. It was like a dad, mom, and they got into a fight. I mean, broad show. And the chimpanzees are like fighting.
Same night?
Same night. And the conductor is like, you know, and we're not going, the sunshine, and he's like playing faster. And now the trainer is trying to tranquilize, and he's getting beat and everything. They finally take them off the stage. And the audience is like, Like, what the heck is going on? So we are like, oh my God, this is going from bad to worse. So now Aladdin, the girl, again, is supposed to come and stop in the middle of the stage and like come out of the go-kart and goes like, oh, something happened. Well, they never cleaned the stage from the fight with the thing, so there was like an oil spill. And there was a sound effect that was like, and the go-kart stopped. You heard the sound effect, and the go-kart kept on going. Intermission came and the announcer went,
that was all in the first act?
El espectáculo esta noche ha sido cancelado. They canceled the second half of the show. The show closed right there. It was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's amazing.
This went from bad to worse quick.
Oh, that's
so,
hilarious.
yeah.
How did they conclude? Did the U.S. guys ever get paid?
Oh, I don't know. I never saw those guys again. We were done. I mean, like, we were.
That was it. Just show.
Yeah, like, I lost the pay for that day. What the heck?
Whatever.
But still.
You get the story. The story's better than the pay.
But into this day, I'm going like, what in the... That had to be the ultimate debacle of a show. Like, the falling apart in slow motion. Everything from the girl, the chimpanzees, the Aladdin. So that I'll keep it in the light side.
Yeah, we'll talk over some tequila about the good ones. Yeah. Oscar, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody at Lemur for having us out.
Yes, thank Lemur, and great stuff, man.
Oh, thank you.
Keep it up, and I appreciate being here with you guys.
Man, so fun. Thanks a lot, dude. Good.
All right. That was my talk with bassist Senor Oskar Cartaya. Man, what a great hang. Absolutely check out his record. I will have links to it at thebassshed.com/podcast/Oskar Cartaya. Man, that was a lot of fun. If you are enjoying the Bass Shed podcast, please hit subscribe wherever you are listening to it. And that's about all I got for this one, folks. That's all I got. I will catch you on the next one in a minute.